Hello, everybody. Good morning. Welcome to my early live today. So, I don't know how many people are going to be up right now, although, if you happen to be outside the United States or in the eastern United States, your day's most likely off to a good start. So, it's Wednesday, hump day, middle of the week. Hope everybody's doing well. Well, what is the live going to be on today? What are we going to discuss? Well, we're going to discuss a particular part about the EB1. That's the Extraordinary Alien Petition. Say that fast 5 times. And I've done lots of other videos on it, but I'm going to be talking in a little different way, a little different aspect about it, to give some clarification on this particular video. So after I'm done with this video, what I'm going to do, or my, spiel on EB1 visas, I'm going to answer whatever questions are put. If you don't have any, well, then we won't have a question and answer period. But if you do, then once I'm done, I will go back, scroll through everybody who just joined, see whatever questions occur, and then move on from there. Okay? All that makes sense? Good. All right, so what is the EB1? Well, first of all, E, employment, B, based, 1, first preference. So it is the best type of employment visa to get, okay? And by best, I mean there's hardly ever, I don't think I've ever seen a backlog on an EB1. I don't care what country you're coming from. Because there's backlogs all the time, like on China and India and the Philippines and Mexico and all that. But no backlogs on EB1s, okay? Now, the EB1, if you qualify, then you're going to be able to get a green card relatively quickly, okay? And again, by no backlog, you don't have to wait years for the visa number to become current. So you don't file for it, wait years for the visa number to become current, and then apply for the green card. So, what categories are in the EB1? Okay, so we have, it's not just one, it's not just extraordinary alien petitions. That's EB1A, okay? Then there's EB1B, which are for outstanding professors and researchers. And then there's EB1C, multinational manager visas. Okay, so those are the 3 different EB1 categories that are at the right top of the list. So let's just do a little brief view of each one. So EB1, extraordinary alien petition. What does that mean? That means you're at the top of your field, whatever it happens to be. I mean, there's lots of different requirements, but that's the bottom line, okay? So if you happen to be one of those people who got a PhD and think you're in for an EB1 with no problems because you just got a PhD, you're wrong, okay? It doesn't say anyone who has a PhD qualifies for an EB1. It says you have to be at the top of your field. I've seen EB1s denied for PhDs, and I've seen EB1s approved for people without a college degree. Okay? It really just depends what field you're in. As a matter of fact, sorry, I got something in my eye. As a matter of fact, I think it was almost 30 years ago. It was a long time ago. I did an EB1 for a golf coach. You heard it right, a golf coach. And it was approved. And honestly, I can't remember if he had any education, but we didn't have to present any of that. That wasn't the purpose of the EB1. It was to show that he was the best, one of the best golf coaches out there, and we did it. So with an EB1, when it says best in your field, what's one of the tricks you have to use to have a better chance of success? You have to narrow the field, okay? So let's say, for example, let me give you an example. let's say, for example, you say you're the best engineer in the world. Okay. Obviously, that's going to be insanely difficult to prove. Okay. Because do you know how many engineers there are in the United States? I mean, a ton. So that's never going to pass muster, ever. Okay. There's no way you're going to make it. So first we have to do is start narrowing that down. So what field, I would ask the person, I go, what field of engineering are you in? They might say, well, I'm an aeronautical engineer. Go, okay, that narrows it down a lot. That kicks out all the mechanical engineers, electrical engineers, chemical engineers, civil engineers. Okay, that kicks out a bunch of people. So that narrows it down a lot. But still, there's a lot of aeronautical engineers, right? So I would say to this person, I'll go, okay, well, I understand you're an aeronautical engineer, but do you work on any particular planes, uh, you know, uh, more than others? And I say, this person might say, well, I do work on the Boeing 737s. That's the plane I've worked on my whole time. I go, okay, that's great. That really narrows it down. That takes away all the Airbus planes, all the jets, all the smaller planes. That cuts a lot of people out. But then I would narrow it down more. I would say, all right, I understand you're an aeronautical engineer. You work on Boeing 737s. What is it you do primarily on there? Because if anybody knows, there's a lot of engineering systems on a big plane, right? I mean, all of the disciplines of engineering could go. So this person might say, well, I work on the electrical wiring of the 737s. Go, okay, that's great. Now let's cut it down one more time. I'll say, well, where do you most likely they're not going to say they work on the whole plane, that they do all the electrical on the whole plane. They won't say that. They might say that they work on the fuselage section of the plane, dealing with the electrical hydraulic systems of the 7. Now, do you see what we did? We so narrowed down the engineer to make it so that we're going to apply for this person. This is an example. We're going to apply for this person for an EB1 for being one of the best aeronautical engineers who works on 737 fuselage hydraulic systems and so forth. Okay. Now, how many people do that? Well, if you look at all the engineers in the world versus the ones that do just that, is probably 100,000th of them. Okay. So now you go down to business and you try to show all of the various ways you are at the top of that particular field. Okay, so that's the key in EB1s. Before you even get down to business, you better narrow that field down so that you kick 95% of everyone who's in a relatively similar field out, so that you have narrowed just a little portion of what you are at the best at. Okay, so that's EB1A. EB1B, outstanding researchers and professors. We don't have to go into too much deal with that, but if somebody has a offer from a university, why doesn't this thing get out of my eye? Sorry. If somebody has an offer from a university, be a tenured professor and so forth, and they can show that they fall under this is a great way to go. Okay. Of course, with EB1B, you have to have a petitioner. With an EB1A, which is the extraordinary ability, you don't. What's the third one? EB1C, multinational manager visa. What does that mean? It means basically what it says. You are a manager or executive of a company outside the United States. And you are going to be or already a manager or executive of a branch office of that company or a subsidiary of that company inside the United States. Multinational manager. Okay. That is a fantastic EB1 visa. Okay. I can tell you that a lot of people, for example, think the only way they're going to be able to invest and run their own company is to invest $1.8 million, try to get an EB5, ultimately spend years and years litigating it, trying to get it approved, get a conditional green card, 2 years later file the conditional green card, show 10 U.S. workers have been hired, blah, blah, blah. Okay. This, you don't have to do any of that. Okay. The EB1C, you're an entrepreneur, you run, or you're a manager, executive of a company overseas, they're going to buy, or you're going to buy a branch office here, you're going to run it here as well, or a division of it. And if it's approved, it's not conditional. Okay, it's a permanent green card. By permanent, I mean, renew every 10 years. It doesn't have any backlog. It doesn't require anywhere near the investment of an EB5. Okay, and a lot of people don't know about the EB1C. Fantastic visa. Okay, so that is my spiel on EB1s. Okay, EB1A, 1B, 1C, and a little bit on each one, how to best get to the top. Now, one other thing with the EB1C, because I have a lot of people say, well, I don't work in a Fortune 500 company. I only have 8 employees, and I don't think it's going to work. Well, that's not true. It does work. There's nothing in the law that says you can't come over on an EB1C if the company's small. Okay, it's just everything needs to be proven, and obviously it's a little harder to prove an EB1C with 5 employees than it is with 500 employees, but that's how it is. All right, so let's scroll back to the beginning just a minute. I hope everybody's doing okay today. Does anyone want to hear a joke while I'm looking for a thing? Why did Adele cross the road? Okay, give up? To say hello from the other side. Okay, let me see if we have any questions here. Just a minute. I'm just scrolling through everybody that's joined. I know it's early in the morning, so, people are sitting there enjoying having their coffee, listening. They don't want to deal with questions. But we can do it next time. I do lives at different times of the day. It's just I have some stuff I need to go to later, so I thought I would get on early today. Let's see. Okay. Well, we have a lot of people that joined, but not a lot of questions. Alrighty. Give me a minute. If anybody knows how to just press a button and pop up all the questions right away, let me know. There has to be a more efficient way than scrolling through all the names here to see if there's a question. Okay, I think I've got it. Congressman can help in I-130 for spouse. Okay, well, I have some questions for that. Why on earth would you need a congressman to help to do an I-130 for a spouse? Okay, I can tell you in 30 years of doing immigration law, and actually it's over 30 years now. You can tell by my gray hair. When I started, I only had black hair. There should be no reason to have a congressman help with an I-130 for a spouse. A couple things. The I-130 itself, that's when you're doing like a marriage petition, but the I-130 itself isn't the adjustment of status. It's not the consulate processing. Okay. What the I-130 is to show that, you have 2 people that are married. It's a bona fide marriage. You have a U.S. citizen or lawful permanent resident, and you have a foreign national. It doesn't determine admissibility. It doesn't determine any of that. So you might be saying I-130, but you might mean the 485, which is for the adjustment or the consulate processing. If that's not the case, then the only reason I suspect you're asking this is because it's been delayed for a long time. Okay, delayed, and for some reason the I-130 is not coming back, and you probably called Congress 22 times, and every time they say, we're working on it, it's an administrative review, please be patient. Okay, something like that. If that's the case, I can tell you that congressional representatives, even if they listen to you, They'll send a nice letter, be on their nice letterhead, but it won't do a thing. Seriously, it will not do a thing. Immigration officials, Department of State officials, consulate, they're not pressured at all by a congressional letter. They don't care. I mean, number one, it's not in their district. Number two, they're still going to get paid tomorrow, whether they say yes or no. It won't help. You need to apply real pressure to immigration to get them to move. And the real pressure is not by going through your congressman, because that doesn't do anything. I mean, I'm not saying that it's bad to do that. It's just, obviously, if you want to get an I-130 that's been stalled forever approved, you should do what needs to be done. It's not going the way you're asking me. It's doing what's called a writ of mandamus. Okay? Let's just say, for example, your I-130's been sitting there for the last 4 years, and you called 10 times, and they say every time something's wrong. Okay? Or it's an administrative review. When they say it's an administrative review, they may as well just say it's been put in a black hole. Okay, they may as well just say they threw it on the shelf, nobody's looking at it, they don't know where it is, and they're not doing anything, but they want you to get off the phone so they can waste the time of the next person who calls. Okay, what does a writ of mandate do? What a writ of mandate does is it sues immigration. And I know when I say that, the first knee-jerk reaction, everybody, well, if I sue them, they're going to get mad at me, and then they're really not going to help me. No, it has the exact opposite effect. They can't jerk you around forever if their leverage is there to do what needs to be done. A writ of mandate is when you file an action in federal court, and the bottom line is you're telling the judge, look, these guys have had my I-130. It's 10 pages. It should take 5 minutes to adjudicate it. And they tell me for 4 years it's been an administrative review and my husband's name came on some list or something. They have no proof or anything. It just sounds like something else, and they need to find out and make sure that this person's legitimate. Whatever ridiculous reason they're giving, they have an administrative duty under the ADA, the Administrative I said ADA, I meant APA, sorry. The Administrative Procedures Act, to adjudicate a petition. So a writ of mandate doesn't mean that you want them, you're forcing them to say yes. Okay? That's why I'll never do a writ of mandate if there's not a clearly approvable case. What it does is it gets them, and it forces them to make a decision, not to sit on it. So how is it that it forces them to make a decision? I'll tell you how. When you file writ of mandate, it goes to court. They have 60 days to legally answer it, and then ultimately, there'll be a trial and all this other stuff. I can tell you of all the writ of mandates, and without exception, every writ of mandate I've ever filed has never had to go to trial. Not once. Because the U.S. attorney that takes the case looks at it, sees it's an I-130, sees immigration has been, blanking you around forever, and doesn't want to go in front of the judge and go, well, Your Honor, we understand this is only a 10-page petition, that clearly they, are married and there's really no problems, but, it's an administrative review. We just need a few more months to do it. You know what the judge is going to do besides laughing that attorney out of court? He's going to yell and scream and say, get your client, immigration, to adjudicate this petition in the next 30 days, or I'll hold you guys in contempt. Okay? And then what happens? The U.S. attorney calls the and says, look, you guys, I got the judge on my tail because you guys are not adjudicating a petition. I want a resolution to this. Then what happens is I'll get a call in my office from the U.S. attorney, go, what do we need to do to make this thing go away? And my answer is always the same. Well, adjudicate it. And then what happens? Magically, a week, 2 weeks later, I get a magic approval in the mail. No reason, no anything, just magically approved. And then later I get a note from the U.S. attorney, go, would you mind dismissing the case? And I'll say, no problem. That's how the writ of mandates go. That's pressure. Okay, that's leverage. That's how you get it to work. Okay, so that's a long answer to your question. Okay, no, don't go to a congressman. 2, get a writ of mandate filed. All right, let's see what other questions we have. You're welcome. Okay. think that was the only question for this particular session. Alrighty. Well, that's it for today. I'm off to my business. Everybody enjoy your day, and we'll get together on the next live.